Sheila here with Sirius Taurus Moon Venus, our moon day Venus with Procyon in the 8th house. And the Sibley chart, the US Sibley chart was coming to mind also regarding the previous episode. And this is because there's something to do with care that somebody's 8th house is United States 7th house, somebody's 4th house is United States 7th house, somebody's 12th house is United States 7th house. I think it's good for people to begin to do Sibley charts, synastries at this time. If somebody's 12th house, for example, Nederland's 1800 chart has Uranus Gemini now in the 12th house. That means that somebody's blind spot is how should I say that? Somebody's blind spot is somebody's swiped under the rug issues in somebody's home. Somebody could even be compelled to provide a home for someone. But they have to also address the mental health type of care that could be a blind spot. Um, and that's somehow associated with the Uranus return of the US Sibley chart. For example, somebody could have thought about providing somebody a home or helping them through transition because they were invested or their partner was invested in something to do with housing, I don't know. Or they have, if it's the 12th house, they could also have projected on someone. Because it's the 12th house, I'm tending to see it as a blind spot rather than, oh, somebody meant to traffic somebody or cause them homelessness or whatnot. No, I tend to see it more as somebody's issues with housing were somebody else's blind spot, and they have to do with the US Sibley chart, Uranus return, and the Israel first Uranus return. It can be the 1800 chart Uranus in the 12th house. It can also be that that person was um, the eighth house of U.S. Sibley chart is also pinpointed. For example, somebody's conscious house. It can be the ninth house, the second house. Can be United States Sibley chart's eighth house. Israel, for example, has the 10th house or the midheaven. I think it's the 11th house in the the 10th house in the midheaven. In the eighth house. So, for example, United States merged armies with Israel and swiped under the rug Israel's worldly reputations. Particularly when it comes to occult. Um, or that Israel may have learned occult from United States. Somebody's ninth house, because Jupiter is teaching wherever it is, but somebody's ninth house could have been the Sibley's chart eighth house, and then their conscious beliefs are, let's just say if somebody is Christian, then they might see Christianity as a conscious belief, whereas the US Sibley chart would look at the esoterics behind Christianity. So somebody could be conscious about being a Christian and develop, let's say, if they work for United States, or they could be developing like esoterics based on their conscious beliefs, but not know what it meant for the US Sibley chart. Um, this could be, for example, people that have lineages of people that were, let's say, foundational masonry, and they're not fully aware to the extent of their heritage, and that can be with somebody's fourth house is United States, or somebody's first house is United States fourth house. Oh my fluff. And that would mean that their seventh house is United States 10th house, and then we get into a big mess. Whoa. Now, with Neptune, Saturn in the background, the the real and the imagined, because we have to think about the fact that manifesting big things is done with ignoring reality many times. Um, um, Jupiter ninth house, Jupiter Cancer can give a belief in choice, and Jupiter can kind of correct that and reminds that, oh, choice has to be informed. It has to be able to withdraw consent. Their nourishment conditions have to be able to provide choices, not just like, oh, there is always choice, because that is a deprivation. Okay, there are many things that come to mind regarding that. Um, um, Equity is also an issue here, because certain people could have been, due to rituals, deprived of accessing choice. And there can even be a situation where, oh, when a person has more access to choice, they choose not to, for things that they were told that they date from choice, and it's like, oh, when they actually have more access to choice, then we see, oh, they actually choose not to. If it was like their choice, they would not choose to go there. Basically meaning that that person was kidnapped. Um, for example, around COVID, I was tortured, so I did not choose. It can also be that somebody wanted to show that somebody has choice, and that was following certain healing. So it's like, oh, they began to access choice because certain healing happened side by side with, let's say, trafficking attempts. It can also be that somebody was so confused because of those tortures that they did not understand what is going on. Um, somebody's somebody's 12th house is Israel's ninth house. So something could be a blind spot around um, depending on the placement. It can be around care if that's the moon. It can be around leadership if that's the sun. Um, it could be that an Israeli would have think that they genuinely and authentically care and would interpret these things by trying to just make sure that, or that they would not, let's say, pick a side, because Gemini is about picking a side before understanding what is going on, or and it could have been somebody's blind spot, or somebody may have thought that somebody that the fact is that what somebody consciously knew or believed was in alignment with, or for example, let's say if my fourth house is Israel's ninth house. So if somebody would have watched my house and they would have thought that because of something that they saw, let's say they would see an Israeli flag, they would think it is my ninth house, and I'm like, no, that's just lying there at home. It's kind of like the type of things that people give out on Independence Day. For me, it's just something that's in the fourth house. It's not something that I necessarily is um, um, somebody's fourth house is somebody's eighth house. Somebody could be invested in the dwelling, the heritage, or the roots of someone. and that someone might need to still get to know their heritage. And this person or the eighth house person may have swiped under the rugs the roots and the heritage of someone. Let's say, if my fourth house is Gemini, somebody that could be looking at my fourth house from their eighth house, they would have seen, um, they, they would have seen, I don't know, maybe something that they're invested in, or they would have seen, oh, Israel is so and so and so and so, we will consolidate, I don't know, let's say outside of Israel or whatnot, and that person could have been affected, and it would be like they're just getting to know their roots, or oh, wait a second, I wasn't even, oh, that person's probably Jewish, is probably this, is probably that, is a person that would not be considered so acceptable by Judaism, um, and their marginalization could create unexpected opinions in international relations. For example, A bombs. Or they need to see that people are not raped regardless of the heritage. Or the people are housed regardless of if they are wed. And that could have been somebody's 12th house, somebody's blind spot. So it was like, hey, when are you going to grow and have children? Well, we need to remove the Peter ring. Well, that's something in the world. Like, how does that connect? Um, and for the US Sibley chart, it's kind of like, oh, that's the Civil War clock. Um, Somebody may have swiped under the rug that people see anything that is of subjugation relations as, how should I say that? It's kind of like, let's put it that way, a BIPOC person with Gemini 12th house, um, could be exploring kinks to do with unusual dynamics around a slavery-based fantasies. A person for whom Gemini is not the 12th house might completely be averse to that type of dynamics. With the moon ruling Jupiter, it can be somebody's belief in choice had a blind spot around people that are in a helpless situation. And that the wound around that helplessness was created by people that were not more sovereign when they made worldly wealth consolidations, let's say. And what it sparks is not requires for remediation rather than um, there can be a communication issue where somebody's like, for example, I talk a lot about orgasmic birthing timelines. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to have kids myself or that I even feel ready to. Um, it there can be that there was an abuse of somebody. It could have to do with enterprises or technology. Uranus is going to expose what was done around where, let's say, Rao was here. Um, there's a little known facet of Gemini, which is the the situations where choosing between options is a lose-lose. For example, let's say what's happening to a person. Let's say if a person was in a helpless situation, was deprived or sacrificed, it will not give life to, let's say, another person. And it can be one person in adulthood or one person in infanthood. And they also have to think very well what do they do to that person, because that's going to meet them in a newborn or recently born. Okay, what was born since COVID? And it can be a project, babies, wealth consolidations. What was sacrificed for that birthing? If there was something that was sacrificed, it may undermine. If people were thinking to use people for their agenda without those people having sovereignty, um, in the sense, I'm talking about targeting individuals here, not Um, let's say in my previous video, I talked about the question of embodiment, that as somebody begins to set boundaries simply because they're able to. If they were, but they're not completely able to, in the sense that they are, in the sense that they're still curating something to do with infanthood. Sadna could be accentuating somebody's intergenerational issues to do with child trafficking. And that can even be connecting to intergenerational wealth. Um, it can also be that somebody was in a trajectory that was not going anywhere good, but what was done to them was not really going anywhere good either. In any case, sexual boundary violation um, brings disasters that are unprecedented. Um, Israel having Pluto in his fifth house, in the fifth house, which, and United States Neptune in the fifth house. On both cases, the things that happen to the helpless the in childhood are being exposed. And with United States, it's things that happen to children in hospitality or hospitals. Um, for Israel, Aries is the seventh house. For example, a lot of people that come from allied and enemy countries begin to talk about hidden things that happened to them by Israel. With United States, Pluto is in the third house, and there's the moon there. Israel's fifth house being United States' third house, it means that United States may have had a business enterprise that incorporated Israeli infants. It can also be why United States can seem scary.